Hey guys, here's a short lesson on a very, very important principle that beginners very often mess up with, and that is do not bring your queen out too early into the game. There's a bunch of general opening principles that you will hear time and time again. Get your pawns to dominate the centre, develop your minor pieces, very often knights before bishops, get your king to safety, get your king castled, and don't bring your queen out too early. Now there are always exceptions to these that you will learn as you go along, but what I want to do is I want to use this example game. My opponent's rated in the 600 to 700 range, and it's for some reason an 18-minute game, and he opens with e4, I play d5, and now a common error that you'll see in beginners. In fact, my very last video had a very similar pattern, but it was the other way around, and that is defending this attacked pawn with your d-pawn. Okay, and the reason is that if pawn takes, the pawn cannot retake, because then you lead to an exchange of queens. The king is forced to recapture, and therefore loses castling rights. Now in this game, as you can see, my opponent didn't recapture, but instead moved his king out to h5. Sorry, so his queen out to h5. And now what this does is it gives me the opportunity to develop my pieces into the board, thereby controlling more of the board, while kicking that queen around. Okay, so now starts kicking the queen all over the park. So knight to f6 does two things. It defends this pawn and it attacks the queen. The queen has to move. The queen now goes to e5, right? No problem for me. That gives me the opportunity to develop a second knight, right? Again, attacking the queen. The queen has to move again. Queen moves back to f4, and then I can simply develop e5. I can push e5, nice central pawn, again attacking the queen. Queen can't capture this pawn because it's defended by a knight. The queen has to move yet again, and now goes to h4. Now I capture the available pawn on d3, and instead of recapturing, for some reason white pushes the c3 pawn. Okay, so I've got this pawn that's hanging there and hangs there for quite a while. My next move, simply e4, defending that pawn. It's now it's defended by this knight still on f6, so happy days. And if you look at the board now, I've got two minor pieces out in the board. I've got two very advanced central pawns that are really going to be choking down white's position, right? White has only really a queen in the board and one pawn that's shifted slightly. That's it, okay? So in terms of controlling the board, both of my knights are in the center, the central square, 4x4 square, so they are controlling their maximum 8 squares. White now develops a knight, so technically has two attackers now against this one pawn on e4 that's defended only by a knight. So I take the opportunity to develop another piece, bring out my light square bishop where it's defending the pawn. White now pushes a pawn forwards, and I could, of course, have taken this en passant, but there's no real benefit to doing that. It would have probably just invited a knight to come out. I don't want to give my opponent opportunities to develop for free. So now I line up my dark squared bishop behind this knight with the idea of maybe moving the knight somewhere and continuing my assault on the queen. Pushes b4, and now I move my knight here. So I'm moving it in close. I want to cut down the queen's options. And of course my bishop is now attacking the queen with a discovered attack. So the queen cannot move back here because of the knight. Can't move here or here or here or there. So starting to run out of options, I think. So the queen actually moves to this square. Now if white had taken a bit more time and figured it out, that's actually the worst square that the queen could move to. And can you figure out now the killer blow in this game? Well, it is the next move, bishop to h4, and the queen is actually now run out completely out of options. The queen cannot actually move anywhere other than to capture the bishop, because to move anywhere else would be, well, I suppose it could move back as well, but cannot move off this diagonal, because that would leave the king in check and that would be illegal. So in desperation, white pushes a pawn, I capture the queen, recaptures, and the queen is lost. And you can imagine that the rest of the game goes pretty straightforward, leading to a very simple and easy win for black. Okay, but it all stemmed down to, so often, that opening, right? From here, I capture, and now the queen comes out into the board. There are very good reasons that have been discovered and learned through painful experience over time. There are reasons why we have these general principles, okay? And as a beginner, you would do very well to keep those principles in mind and stick to them religiously, right? One of them is, do not develop your queen too early. And this player, unfortunately, found out the hard way. I hope that they learn from that error. I hope you've learned from that error. So there you go. Quick lesson. One very important opening principle. See you soon.